Hello children. So yesterday we have talked about the reproductive health and STDs we have discussed, and today we will discuss about the infertility and its causes and remedies also. Now the infertility, it is inability to conceive, that is inability to have the children, that is called infertility. And infertility is usually before the knowing that both male and females are equally responsible, the finger of blame was on the females. But now it is clearly known that both are equally responsible for the infertility. Now infertility is not a major problem, it is not considered taken in seriously by national health services, because it is not life threatening. There is no risk of life, just it is a emotional feeling of the couples, and the couples will become ready to pay any large amount to have the children, and such couples are helped by the scientists and the doctors. Now today let us see some of the infertility causes in males and females. What do you mean by infertility? It is inability to conceive or have a child. Inability to have a children is called infertility. Inability to conceive or have a child is called infertility. Now causes in females. First let us take one by one. So causes for infertility in females. The first cause is ovulation disorder. Ovulation disorder, hormonal disorder, sorry, first I wrote, okay, ovulation disorder. So here maybe the ovulation will not occur in some of the females because of the hormonal defect, hormonal imbalance. The hormonal imbalance may be due to the hypothalamus or the pituitary gland. If there is a problem in the release of FSH, then ovulation, this follicle formation will not take place. If there is a problem in LH, then ovulation will not occur. Sometimes the ovary may not release estrogen and progesterone, then creates the problem in the ovulation. That is the first problem. And the next one is the infections and tubal blockage. So sometimes that due to infection there may be a blockage in the fallopian tube, or sometimes due to physical damage to the ovary or to the oviduct there may be a blockage. And then uterine tumors. So uterine tumors, sometimes we will see the tumors in the uterus. Sometimes we will see tumor like growth in the uterus, which will make a problem for the implantation. There may be a polyps or fibroids. The polyps or fibroids. Fibroids are the benign growth of fibers and the muscles. And polyps, they are the tiny bud-like growth which will grow in the uterus. As they grow in the uterus, the implantation will become a problem. And then abnormal uterus. It is a congenital problem. Right from the birth, some of the females have got the abnormal uterus. The uterus may be septate or it may be odd shaped, abnormally shaped. That is about the abnormal uterus. Next one is the endometriosis. You know that endometrium is a bed of the baby which is formed in the uterus. Sometimes it may get broken down and form around the ovary or in the fallopian tube. So this is also a problem. Sometimes because of this, the ectopic pregnancy may occur. That is, the pregnancy will not occur. The implantation will not take place in the uterus, but it take place in the fallopian tube, which may be a risk to the mother and of course to the child also, to the fetus. So these are the problems in the females. Now the causes, infertility causes in males. So infertility causes in males, first one is oligospermia. So among the problems, 90% of the problems are due to oligospermia, that is low sperm count. The exact cause for this oligospermia is not clearly known. Maybe many factors are responsible for this. And the next one is azoospermia. Among 5% of the males will be suffering with the azoospermia. Azoospermia is an absence of sperms in the semen. In the semen, the sperms are absent. It may be due to the blockage in the tube. So next cause is abnormal sperms. Abnormal sperms, sometimes the sperms are abnormal. Maybe they have got two head or unusually larger head, two tails. So if the abnormality is to the larger extent, then fertilization will become a problem. And then next is the blockage. So it is a congenital problem or maybe due to the infection. So due to the infection, bacterial infections like tuberculosis and gonorrhea, the tubes, that is the tube through which the sperms will move to the ejaculatory duct, will become a problem. So these are sometimes the premature ejaculation will be there, sometimes maybe erection is the problem. So these are the problems which are seen in the males. So let me just revise this. What is infertility? Infertility, it is inability to have a child. The couples may face problem in having the children, and problems are common for both males and the females. First we were discussing about the female problem. In the female, ovulation may be a problem due to the abnormal hormone balance, that is hormonal imbalance due to hypothalamus and pituitary. If there is a problem in FSH, then follicles are not formed. If problem in LH, then ovulation will not occur, and sometimes there may be a problem due to estrogen and progesterone, which are secreted by the ovary. And then infection or the tubal blockage. So these infections and tubal blockage may damage ovaries and oviduct physically. Then also conception is a problem. Then uterine tumors. In the uterus, fibroids and polyps may develop. In the uterus, if fibroids or polyps are there, then the implantation will become a problem. Fibroids are the benign tumors of fibers and the muscles, and the polyps are the tiny bud-like growth in the uterus. And then next is the abnormal uterus. It is the congenital problem, a problem which is present right from the birth. Here the uterus may be abnormally shaped, sometimes it may be having septa. It can't be treated. And then endometriosis. So here the endometrium will get broken down, and they will form, it will form in the fallopian tube or around the ovary. It is also a problem. So these are some of the important problems which are seen in the females. Now causes for infertility in males. The first cause is the oligospermia. Oligospermia is low sperm count in the semen. So usually if 20 million sperms are present in the semen, then that male is considered as, that is a problem, that male is considered as a sterile. And then azoospermia, it is absence of sperm in the semen. The sperms are produced by the testes, but they will not come in ejaculation because it may be due to the blockage in the pathway, and that blockage may be due to the infection. So the infection may the bacterial infection like gonorrhea and tuberculosis. Sometimes the sperm itself may be abnormal, having larger head, sometimes with two tails, sometimes with two heads. Then a premature ejaculation, and sometimes erection may be a problem. So these are the problems of infertility. Now let us see the remedies for this infertility. Now let us discuss about the remedial methods, which are also called as ART. ART stands for Assisted Reproductive Techniques. Assisted reproductive techniques help the couples to have the children, to have a child. So here the first test tube baby technique, it was developed by a doctor called Dr. Steptoe and Dr. Robert Edward. the first test tube baby was done in a mother whose fallopian tube was blocked. And the first test tube baby of the world is Louis Joy Brown. Louis Joy Brown, and they developed this in 1978. So it is the world's first test tube baby. And India, in Calcutta, it is Durga Kanupriya Agarwal. Kanupriya Agarwal was the first test tube child in India, and this child was developed by Subhash Mukherjee. So this information just you have to know. Now let us know some of the important assisted reproductive techniques which are present at present. So they are IVF-ET, which stands for In Vitro Fertilization and Embryo Transfer. So this is also called as test tube baby technique. And GIFT, gift, that is Gamete Intra Fallopian Transfer. Then GIFT, ZIFT, it is Zygote Intra Fallopian Transfer. AI, that is Artificial Insemination. IUI, Intrauterine Insemination. And ICSI, Intracytoplasmic Sperm Injection. Sometimes you can say this also intracellular sperm injection also can be written. Now let us see one by one. Let me first go through IVF-ET. I told IVF-ET, it stands for In Vitro Fertilization and Embryo Transfer. It is called in vitro because fertilization occurs outside the mother body in the laboratory condition, where in a petri plate the nutritive media is prepared which is same as that of fallopian tube. Let us know the steps in short. So first, the mother, usually this is performed in those females where ova is produced normally and mother's uterus can support the development of the embryo, but there is a problem of transportation of ova from the ovary to the upper part of the fallopian tube. So here first the mother is given hormones for, you can say, super ovulation. Usually you know that per month one ova is released from the ovary. So instead of getting one ova, doctors will have 3 to 4 ova by super ovulation, by hyperstimulation of the ovary with the hormones, just to avoid the risk of failure. So 2 to 3 ova, secondary follicles, when they formed, so they are aspirated, they are taken out from the mother's womb through laparoscopy or ultrasonography. This is the second step, and then they are kept in a laboratory in a petri plate in a sterile culture media. That culture media is having the nutrition which is present in the fallopian tube. The contents are same. The nutrition, the pH, the temperature, all are same. And then the sperms are collected from the father or from the donor. And the sperms, the semen after collection, the sperms are washed just to remove the semen, and then it is introduced into the petri plate where the ova is present. And then within 12 to 24 hours fertilization will take place. Within 12 to 24 hours fertilization will take place. Within 5 days, the zygote will divide. Within 5 days, within 5 days, zygote undergo cleavage. To form the embryo. At blastocyst, or you can say 8-cell stage, the zygote is introduced into the uterus of the mother. So at blastocyst stage, let me write, at blastocyst stage, embryo is introduced into the uterus of the mother. Embryo is introduced in the uterus of the mother. In the uterus of the mother, further growth and development is same as that of the as that it occurs in the nature naturally. Now let me just repeat it. So For the infertility, remedial methods are there, and these remedial methods are also called as ART. ART stands for Assisted Reproductive Technologies or Techniques. In the assisted reproductive techniques, there are some methods like IVFET, GIFT, ZIFT, AI, IUI, ICSI. So among these, first one we were discussing was the IVFET. What do you mean by IVFET? In vitro fertilization and embryo transfer. It is called in vitro fertilization as fertilization, that is fusion of sperm with the ova, occurs outside the body of the mother in the laboratory condition in a petri plate. That is why it is called in vitro fertilization. And this technique is also called as test tube baby technique. Here the baby will not grow in the test tube, but fertilization occurs outside the mother body. That is why this technique is also called as test tube baby technique. So some important methods are followed here in vitro fertilization and embryo transfer. What is done first? Usually this is done in those mothers whose fallopian tube got blocked due to, maybe it is due to infection or maybe congenital problem. So here first the mother is given hormones to have more than one ova, more than one secondary follicle. So it is called super ovulation or hyperstimulation of the ovary. The secondary follicles, when they are formed, those follicles are collected from the mother's womb through laparoscopy or ultrasonography. And those collected ova, they are kept in a petri plate. They are kept in a petri plate in the lab. And after simultaneously the sperms are collected from the father. Simultaneously sperms are collected from the father, they are washed and then they are introduced. Nearly 1 million sperms are collected from the father, they are washed and then they are introduced into the petri plate. They are introduced into the petri plate. Within 12 to 24 hours fertilization will occur and the zygote is formed. Formed zygote within 5 days through the cleavage it reaches the blastocyst stage, and when it reaches nearly 8 to 32 cell stage or in the blastocyst stage, it is introduced into the mother's uterus for the implantation. So implantation and further development occurs naturally as it occurs in the nature. And usually in this technique the pregnancy test is performed after 14 days of this technique. After 14th day of the insertion of the zygote into the uterus, then the pregnancy test is performed in the females. Now let me go to the next one, that is GIFT. Now let us see the second one, that is GIFT, gift. It stands for Gamete Intra-Fallopian Transfer. So here gametes are collected from the couples, the sperms and the ova are collected, then they are introduced into the upper part of the fallopian tube. So here the fertilization will occur in the body of the mother. In the body of the mother, then further processes are natural. So usually this technique is followed in those mothers where production of ova is a problem, or sometimes the female reproductive system is hostile to the sperms. That is, it contains the antibodies against the sperm. In such, the gift is performed. Now next is the GIFT, ZIFT. Zygote intra-fallopian transfer. So here fertilization occurs outside the mother body. It is just alternate methods of the IVFET. Same, the procedure followed are same as that of the IVFET. That is, the mother is induced for the superovulation, then 3 to 4 ova are collected, introduced into the petri plate with the similar conditions as that in the fallopian tube, and then sperms are introduced. When fertilization occurs, when zygote is formed, that zygote is introduced into the upper part of the fallopian tube. That is about the gift. So here it is more advantageous than the gift, because here fertilization is not confirmed, whereas here fertilization is confirmed. Now next is the AI, that is artificial insemination. In artificial insemination, semen is collected from the donor or from the father and is introduced into the vagina. Usually this was done in the livestock to produce more number of progenies, to increase the number of herd size in the livestock. But nowadays it is performed even in the human beings and the successful rate is there. So that is about the AI. And another method is intrauterine insemination. So intrauterine insemination, here the semen is introduced into the uterus. Semen is introduced into the uterus. This is done where the vagina will become hostile to the sperms. So next one is the ICSI. ICSI stands for intracytoplasmic sperm injection. So here, when the male is having the problem in the production of the sperms, like oligospermia, then the sperms are directly introduced into the cytoplasm. It is a technique where success rate is more. The zygote is definitely going to form as the sperms are injected into the cytoplasm. Then that zygote is introduced into the mother's womb. So these are some of the techniques. Let me just revise. So second we have discussed about the gift, GIFT, which stands for Gamete Intra-Fallopian Transfer. So here, as it occurs in the nature, first ova is collected, it is introduced in the upper part of the fallopian tube, then sperms are introduced with the help of the catheter as it occurs in the nature, and then fertilization occurs as usual in the ampullary ischemic junction, then zygote is formed, and then further processes are natural. So that is about the gift, and it is performed in those mothers where the production of ova is a problem. And sometimes if the sperms, that is the reproductive tract of the female, if it is hostile to the sperms, then GIFT, that is the zygote intrafallopian transfer. Here directly zygote is introduced into the upper part of the fallopian tube and further processes are natural. And then artificial insemination, the semen is introduced into the vagina. Sometimes if the vagina is hostile or contain antibody against the sperms, then the semen is introduced into the uterus, which is called as IUI. Now ISI means here the sperms are directly introduced into the cytoplasm of the ova. It is done usually in the males where the production of sperm is a problem. So these are the assisted reproductive techniques which nowadays will help the couple to have the children. So this completes our reproductive health. Now we will see some of the questions which are asked in annual exams. Now let us see some of the questions which are asked in the annual exams. Right from 2014, few questions I wrote here. So the weightage for this is 5 marks. It will be asked for 2 plus 3. In bits it will be asked. Let me just read out the questions. So what is medical termination of pregnancy? What is medical termination of pregnancy? And mention the safe period for medical termination of pregnancy. And write 4 simple principles to prevent STDs. Then mention 3 reasons for population explosion, which is asked for 3 marks, and name human male and female sterilization techniques, and suggest any 3 assisted reproductive technologies to overcome infertility. It is for 3 marks. And mention any 4 sexually transmitted disease is asked for 2 marks. And mention any 2 natural methods of birth control is for 2 marks. And how do the following assisted reproductive technologies assist the couples to have child? So the first one is in vitro fertilization. It is understood an embryo transfer, and zygote intrafallopian transfer, gamete intrafallopian transfer. Each one is for 1 mark, 3 marks it is. So what is infertility? How is infertility treated by assisted reproductive technologies like GIFT and ICSI for 5 marks. In detail you have to explain. And what is contraception? Briefly explain. Briefly explain 2 barrier methods and 2 surgical methods to prevent pregnancy or conception, and it is for 5 marks. Now, what is infertility? Give reasons for infertility in humans. Generally, it is asked, just you have to write the side headings. And then, what are the features of ideal contraceptives? Ideal contraceptive features for 2 marks. And then, list any 2 methods of HIV transmission. So, few questions I gave you. Find out the answers and notes will be supplied to you shortly. Have a good day. Tomorrow we will begin with the new chapter.